How can the best player in the world work on something that's so simple as that? He can do this drill, and this is literally mind-blowing. Golf is something that he does, it's not what he is. That would be the big takeaway that I would take from the 9 holes that I walked, that wonderful experience at Birkdale, walking with the world's best player, is during the time that I had at the Open this year at Royal Birkdale, I was very fortunate to have an extraordinary experience where one of the players that I was working with actually played a practice round, 9 holes, with the world's #1 player, Scottie Scheffler. So as you can imagine, it's not something that you get a chance to do every day of the week. Follow 9 holes with a player who's dominating the game more than anybody since probably Tiger Woods. And it was really instructive to spend some time watching him play. First of all, what a wonderfully nice, warm guy he was. I mean, I think, you know, if you are world #1, there'd be some maybe excuse for not being too attentive to anybody else, but he couldn't have been nicer to everybody in the group. I was really, really impressed with him, just fundamentally as a human being more than anything else. But once I started to watch his golf, one thing really struck me was just how much control he had over the trajectory of the golf ball. And it may seem an obvious thing to say, but we all know that Scottie Scheffler tends to play most of the shots left to right. It was really interesting to find out from his coach, Randy Smith, who he's worked with for many, many years from being a young player. Pretty much all that Scheffler has worked on for the last couple of years is the sensation and the feeling when he's hitting shots. Very simply, he focuses on making sure that the heel gets to the ball a little bit before the toe. You think about that. How can the best player in the world work on something that's so simple as that? Well, that's what he's doing. And Scheffler, to me, is so incredibly in tune with the club face. And I think as a generalization with our sport, we are so detached from the implement in our hand. If you think about it, a tennis player would be very much in tune with a racket, a snooker player, a cue, a batsman. You see some of the incredible shots that you see these days in cricket where the ball's going over the wicket keeper's head. Some of the incredible shots, those batsmen are so in tune with that bat. And yet we come to play our game, and what are we in tune with? We're often in tune with our shoulders and our wrists and our hips and all the myriad of other things that we might end up focusing our attention on. Yet the only time that the golf ball gets supplied with information is impact. So I think it may be an area you could begin to look at. Can you spend a little bit more time becoming in tune, attuned to the club face? The other thing that was really interesting with Scottie as well, and this was in a practice round, was just how much time and attention he actually pays to that simple thing called the grip. I know it's well documented that every practice session he has this molded grip that he works with, but literally every shot that he was out there, he was hitting, and he would go through this process where he was putting his hands on the club in a very deliberate way. Now, on the one hand, I think that's great because he's so attuned to, for him, a really important fundamental. And you could see that he was linking what his hands were doing with the face. But for me, I think this is something that's really interesting from a mental game perspective, is that when we're actually tuning in to our hands on the club, perhaps we're tuning into grip pressure, we're tuning into the placement of our hands on the club. What we're doing, we're actually taking our attention out of our head into our body. There's a phrase, wonderful phrase, stop thinking and come to your senses. Now, to me, when I see Scottie Scheffler there, taking that grip and paying such close attention, almost in an obsessive way, he is so in tune with the feeling in his hands, linking it to the club face. He's not in his head with a bunch of thoughts. So that helps him play that wonderful little drift shot that he plays all of the time. He has incredible control over his trajectory. One of the guys in the group was saying that he can do this drill, and this is literally mind-blowing, with his wedges, where he'll hit a shot, say 60 yards, and the drill is, can you hit the next shot 1 yard more? And he'll hit the next shot 61, 62, 63. And I believe he's done this where he's hit 7, 8, 9 shots with just 1 yard extra increment, which is mind-blowing. I mean, try it for yourself. If you can get within 5 yards, you're pretty good at this game. I know Ryan Fox, who I was working with at the Open there in the practice round, you know, he was saying that he sometimes does that drill, and for him 3 or 4 yards is pretty good. He's getting in tune with that. How would I sum up the overall thing though, with the main thing with Scottie is, for me, he just has this wonderful perception about the game of golf and where the game of golf is in his life and his position within that. That to me, Scottie plays with he plays from what I call a safe place, in the sense that he's out on the golf course and he realizes at a very, very deep level that golf is something that he does, it's not what he is. In the sense that his value as a human being, and he's talked about this, his value as a human being is not dependent on what a golf ball does or a score at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong, and you saw it in the Open, he is out there to win. He is a tough, mean competitor who will give it absolutely everything. But I feel certain that at the end of a round of golf, if he's not won a tournament, if he's not played well, he's going to be disappointed, of course he is, but it's not threatening his identity. And I think this, for so many young players that I see, this is what, unfortunately, I experienced it myself, this is filtering into the game, that we place so much emphasis, so much of our self-worth on the number on a scorecard. And I think then you walk a tightrope, because if you walk a tightrope whereby if you shoot 68, you're a good person, and if you shoot 76, you're a bad person, that is too much for anybody to deal with. Our brain then perceives threat, and if we perceive threat, we get the fight, flight, fight response, which is, none of those are pretty good for golf. Scheffler, when he goes on a golf course, the golf course for him, to me, is a pure environment of opportunity. Scheffler is pursuing good shots. He's not trying to avoid poor ones. And when you see those funny swings that he makes at times, where you see the funny finishes, I think that's a perfect example. Yes, he saved the shot. Saving the shot gets a bad rap. But to me, what that shows is somebody that's so in tune with that club face. He is absolutely, fundamentally, why is Scottie better than the rest of us to such a degree? It's because he is so in tune with that club face. He knows where that club face is at all times, and because of that, he can make these micro adjustments, not necessarily consciously. So that would be the big takeaway that I would take from the 9 holes that I walked, that wonderful experience at Birkdale, walking with the world's best player, is consider how attuned you are with your grip, how attuned you are with the grip and the club face. There's only 3 contact points in golf: the impact, the grip, and your feet on the ground. How attuned are you to that? And could you become so much more of a master of what the golf club is doing, of what the face is doing? Maybe not quite so obsessed with all the minutiae of how your body's moving in the swing, but you become more focused on the only thing, as far as I'm aware, that tells the golf ball what to do, which is the club face. It seems that Scottie is obsessed with the club face. I don't think it's a bad place for the rest of us to place our attention.